That's fine. Okay, it'll be a silent intro. Hello, and welcome to Prospects of Kidkind. I'm Eliza.
And I'm Celia.
And I will introduce our guest today. First, we have Saraswati Raghavan. Did I do a really bad job? Okay. She goes by Saras with her friends. She's 8 years old and in the 2nd grade. She plays the violin, and her favorite classes are math and reading. She also enjoys art, ballet, ice skating, and tormenting her brother. How old is your brother?
5.
5. That's a good tormenting
6.
age.
6.
Okay. Nice. And we have Ig Maskin, who is an American economist and 2007 Nobel laureate. He's a professor at Harvard University, previously taught at MIT and Princeton. And he participates in the Ig Nobel Prizes every year at Harvard, and also has lived in Albert Einstein's house, and is also interested in music and sports. Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so seeing as you are a Nobel laureate, we were wondering if you could explain to us what exactly you won the prize for, such that a child could understand it, or maybe we could understand it.
So my prize was for something that's called mechanism design, which sounds as though it might have something to do with cars, but actually it's about how you design procedures for making sure people get the sort of thing they want to get.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Suppose we had a cake here, and you wanted to make sure that Saras and I each got a fair share. Problem is, you don't know how much, how I see the cake, and you don't know how Saras sees the cake. So one thing you could do is to have Saras cut the cake, and me choose which piece I want, and Saras would be very careful to cut the cake so that, from her point of view, the two pieces are equal, because she knows that if they weren't equal, I would take the bigger one and she'd be stuck with the smaller one. So we get a fair allocation this way. That's your goal, even though you don't know what Saras and I think is fair. The procedure gives us a fair outcome without your having to know in advance what the fair outcome is. So that's a simple example of mechanism design. How do you do that more generally?
I see. So you had siblings or something that you were struggling.
But I would probably want to have a smaller piece.
We could do it that way too.
It depends on the cake, of course, but
I mean, some people want the big rose on the cake. Some people want less frosting. You never know.
That's right. So you let people choose for themselves.
Yep.
cool. Well, congratulations.
Awesome.
Okay, so
Okay. Before money, we used various objects as means of bartering, right? Do you think money will eventually lose monetary value and we start trading again? Does the existence of money create a life of meaning for most people? What would you see society looking like if we didn't have money?
do you want to go first, Sarah?
I would think a lot more people would start trading, and they would say, I really want that and you really want this, so I'll trade you this for that.
Yeah, without money. And if we didn't have to work anymore because there was no money, what do you think you would do all day?
Learn.
That's
good.
Good answer. Good answer. Yeah. Cool.
But not learn one thing.
Okay. What would you want to learn about?
Lots of different things.
Yeah. And then you could just live your whole life learning.
One major thing I like to do on Saturdays is practice keeping my ankles straight while skating.
Oh.
That's a good thing.
Multitasking.
You don't get to learn that in school most of the time, I'm sure.
No, they don't care where your ankles are in school. Cool. Okay. What do you think society would look like without money, or What would you do?
Well, of course, originally society didn't have money,
Yes.
and they did exactly what Saras said. They traded. If I had apples and Saras had oranges, we could swap the apples for the oranges. The reason why that system didn't work so well is that it's not always the case that when two people meet, they want what the other person has.
Right.
You have to be lucky.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen. So instead of trading my apples for oranges, I could trade it for money and then use the money to get something that I really want. And that's why money is so useful, because it means that more people can trade than would otherwise be the case.
Yeah, it's interesting because everyone values everything so differently that there can't be some sort of equal system without money.
And now
Right.
there's these things like Bitcoin,
That's right.
which is like, I mean, I don't completely understand Bitcoin, but it's like kind of invented money in a sense. And that's interesting. And we were talking earlier about how now things like with social media, there's no money involved, but you can, on social media, you can have like a huge following and then people give you things. It's almost like money. You're exchanging your worth in society in a sense for money. I don't know.
But also, people pay money for people's social media accounts. That's actually a new thing too,
I didn't
which
know
is
that.
interesting because that gives value to someone's online presence, which
Right.
is just like absolutely insane.
Yeah. I don't have any social media, but it seems profitable. Do you have any social media profiles?
No.
No? How
But I
about
do
you?
have my own
No.
computer.
You have your own computer?
Nice.
Yeah.
So someone put me on Facebook years ago, but that turned out to be more trouble than it was worth. So I had to unsubscribe. I didn't know how to do it myself, but
Too funny.
my daughter figured it out.
That's good. That's funny.
Yeah, I manage all the social media for
Our
our
show.
stuff.
I can't handle
Kidkind. Follow us on Facebook,
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Yeah, social media is a little over. I also thought it was not worth the trouble.
It's a lot.
Because once you're in there, it's just like a whirlwind of information that you're not necessarily
Yes.
benefiting from.
And then I got all of these friending requests, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to say no.
Yeah, you feel bad. You know.
I feel bad, but what can you do? So I decided in the end to resign from
Yeah.
Facebook.
It's quite exhausting.
Do you think you'll be on Facebook one day?
I don't know.
There's still time.
Yeah, we did a good job underselling it, so hopefully.
Yeah, maybe you'll never be on there. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
got another question. What keeps you going? Why do you wake up in the morning?
I wake up in the morning because most of the time I don't want to be late for school.
That makes sense.
One reason I don't want to be late for school is because I know if I'm late for a certain amount of days, I have to redo the grade.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what makes you wake up on a Saturday?
I have dance class on Saturdays.
So plans. You're a busy girl. Nice.
And on Sundays, I wake up because I really want to read.
Oh, that's nice.
Awesome. What are you reading right now?
I just finished 2 Judy Moody books.
Ah, Judy Moody. So good. What about you? What are you reading right now?
I'm reading a novel by Amos Oz, the Israeli novelist. It's called Judas, and I'm about halfway through it. It's really good.
Awesome.
There was a chance you were going to say Judy Moody.
I'll try that next.
And what keeps you going? What motivates you to wake up every morning?
Well, I'm a professor, and that's a really good job because basically most of the time I can do pretty much whatever I want to do. My job is to contribute to knowledge, and I can do that by thinking about hard problems that interest me, and I can spend most of the day trying to figure out the answer to these to these hard questions. I also teach, do some classroom teaching, and that's fun too, because my students also pose some tough questions, and yeah, it's a great job, and it gets me out of bed.
Awesome. Okay, so our next question has to do with an economics problem, which is called the prisoner's dilemma. So I'll explain it as best as I can. Maybe you can assist me. But it goes a little something like this. So, and we're gonna have our two guests kind of give an answer to this. So the prisoner's dilemma, essentially, pretend both of you are in a criminal gang, which shouldn't be hard for you guys to imagine. Yeah, I can see you guys in a gang, okay? So pretend you're in a gang and you're arrested and imprisoned. So you're in jail. You are in separate cells and you can't talk to each other. And the prosecutors don't have enough sufficient evidence to convict you of the crime. So they offer you kind of like a plea bargain, like a little negotiation. So they're gonna, let's say I interview you and I'm a police officer, and Celia is a police officer and she interviews Eric, and we'll ask you basically, who did it? And you have the option of saying the other one did it or saying nothing. So if both of you betray each other, then you each have to serve 2 years in prison. If one, let's say you say that he did it, but he doesn't say anything, then you're free and he has to stay 3 years in prison. And if neither of you say anything, then you each have to serve 1 year in prison. Okay, does that make sense? Sort of. I asked Celia this question earlier and she would not give me a response because she said we might end up in this situation one day, and that she didn't want to tell me her answer. So neither of us will reveal our answers, but I know your answer already. So perhaps, and then you can give us your answer. But so essentially, what did you say? What would you do?
I would say the other person did it.
Okay. Interesting. And what would you say?
Well, technically, Saras is correct, because if you say the other person did it, no matter what they say, you're better off. You either go free if they remain silent, or you go to jail just for a year if they name you. But somehow I can't bring myself to say that Saras did it, so I'm going to say silent.
Oh, okay. So then you would be free and you would be stuck in prison for another 3 years. That's not how I thought that would go. Putting a Nobel laureate in jail. It makes sense.
Only for Saras, you understand. I wouldn't do that for everyone.
Okay, there's some stipulations associated with it. Interesting. Yeah, I really wonder what Celia would do. I think she would tattle on me, but I don't know. I guess I'm waiting for us to be in the situation. I don't know. Okay, our next question is, for you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for you, I guess you're sort of grown up. So you can either tell us what you want to be when you grow up, or what you wanted to be when you were slightly younger, perhaps. Okay, do you want to go first, Saras?
I want to be either an engineer or a scientist.
Good choices. Noble choices. How about you?
So now that I know what it's like, I want to be a professor. I think that's a great job.
Yeah.
When I was about Saras's age, I didn't really know what I wanted, but sometimes I thought maybe I'd want to be a musician.
Oh.
Because I have lots of musicians in my family.
I've been thinking about singing also.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I thought of maybe even being a lawyer, because there was a show called Perry Mason when I was a kid, and Perry Mason was a lawyer who always figured out who committed the crime. It was never his clients. His client always got off, sort of like the prisoner's dilemma. But he found out who really did it. And I thought that was kind of neat to figure out who really committed the crime.
And my brother wants to be a construction worker.
Nice. Did you ever play any instruments?
I did and still do. I play the clarinet
Nice. I
and
used to
piano.
play.
And I used to, I started playing piano, but then I quit it because my teacher she wasn't very good with younger kids.
So now you concentrate on violin.
Yeah,
You take lessons?
yeah,
And do you
Tuesdays.
practice? And do you practice every day?
yeah.
Good for you.
I love the violin. I've always envied violin players.
Most of the time.
We all have our days.
The best of us miss a day now and then.
Maybe you guys could start a band together.
There's actually quite a lot written for clarinet and violin, usually with a piano too, so it'd be a trio.
Great. I'm available.
But I just started, so
Okay.
the hardest song I've learned so far is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
That's a tricky song and a deep song.
Yep. Mozart had a version of that actually. Mozart wrote some variations on Twinkle
wow.
Twinkle Little Star.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome. Maybe you guys could start with that in our band.
I've been thinking about, like, when I forgot the words, I just made up my own.
Nice.
How does your Twinkle Twinkle Little Star go?
So I knew up to like a diamond I thought like a diamond in the sky, shimmering, shining way up high.
That's good. That sounds just like the original. So if the three of us had a band, what would you call it? That's a tough one.
That's a really
Would you like
tough
to go
one.
first? If we had a band, what do you think we would call it?
How about the Gang of Three?
Hey, I'd call us like
Since Saras and I were already in this gang,
That's true.
you're like the Science Gang Mod 3 or something. Could
Yeah,
be cute.
something like pie related,
Of course, pie
Yeah.
related.
like the food and also the number.
Cool. Okay, so we're gonna move on. So we have another little game for you guys to play. So Eric and I are both involved in the Ig Nobel prizes, it's an awards ceremony that takes place every September or so at Harvard University that honors achievements in kind of humorous scientific research that are aimed so things that make people laugh and then make them think. And a lot of them are really silly. So our game will be, I'm gonna read 3 scientific studies and you have to guess which one is fake. Okay? Sarah, so you're gonna go first. Are you ready? Okay, I'm gonna read 3 scientific studies and you have to guess which one is not real. Okay, the first one is the study where someone had people swallow pens and see if their urine turned the color of the pen ink. That's the first one. The second one is for demonstrating that the problem of illegally parked luxury cars can be solved by running them over with a tank. Does that make sense? No? Okay. So you know how people can have really expensive cars? If you're really rich, you can have a really fancy car, and sometimes people park them in places they're not supposed to park them. And someone thought that the way to fix that is to run them over with like an army tank. So that kind of like demolishes the car. The third one is salmonella excretion in joyriding pigs. How do we explain
I
that?
don't know. I just read it and I was like, I don't know.
Well, joyriding. Imagine essentially people riding pigs, and then there's a bit about some kind of disease that you would get from the pigs. Okay, those were a little difficult, but which one do you think is fake? Which one sounds the least like it's a real study that someone would do?
Having someone swallow pens.
That's right. Good job.
Awesome.
Okay, +1 for you, and you're ahead because of the prisoner's dilemma question. So you're ahead of this game we're playing. Okay.
All right, I
do
got
the
the
next
next
one?
one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, here's the first scenario. I guess I'll ask you, Eric, because you haven't answered one yet. Okay. Salt and sugar, when combined on an ice cube, cancel each other out. Or a valiant victim of a venomous bite from his pet rattlesnake for his determined use of electroshock therapy. Or 3, presented to Lee Kuan Yew, former Prime Minister of Singapore, for his 30-year study of the effects of punishing 3 million citizens of Singapore whenever they spat, chewed gum, or fed pigeons.
Oh, that's tough. I think I'd also go for the first one, salt and sugar canceling each other out.
You are correct.
That's right.
Is it?
You guys are
Awesome.
doing great. Okay, your turn. Are you ready? Okay, here's the first one. The first one was presented to Legislative Yuan of Republic of China for demonstrating that politicians gain more by punching and kicking each other than waging war against other nations. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, so politicians, you know, the people that do like politics, like the president, you know, politicians, they, instead of going to war with other countries, they were better off just punching each other. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The second option was presented to a man from Beverly Hills for creating DNA, cologne, and perfume, neither which had actual DNA, but came in a triple helix bottle. You know DNA?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the second one. And the third one is that the smallest stool the average person can sit on and be comfortable is 2 by 2 inches wide. Does that make sense? Like a stool like that thing over there.
Yeah.
Like the smallest one that a person can sit on but still be comfortable had, you know, like a radius of, or like a area of 2 by 2 inches, which is like,
this big.
yeah, it's pretty small. What do you think? Which one's fake?
The first one.
Oh, that one is true. The fake one was the stool.
But I would think it's so small you wouldn't feel it.
Yeah, that's the fake one.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
That's true. That's a good point.
Maybe
I made that
maybe
one
it
up,
would
so
be
maybe I
so.
did a really good job making that one up.
it was just so
It
real.
ought to be a study. Probably next year someone will
Yeah, I
study
hope so.
exactly that.
Hopefully they tuned in.
Yeah, I really hate sitting on stools. I don't get it. I don't know who invented stools. I don't see the purpose. You need a back.
I know, they're awful.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. Last question.
Okay, so Eric, here we have some names I can't say because they're complex. Someone from Norway, from their report, effects of ale, garlic, and sour cream on the appetite of leeches.
Oh.
Okay. In Japan, it was discovered that dogs confuse people with melons. Or presented to Richard Seed of Chicago for his efforts to stoke up the world economy by cloning himself and other human beings.
Gee. Much as I like the idea of dogs confusing humans with melons, I think I'll choose that one.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, you got
I was still laughing over that one when I said the last one. And I was like, I really gave this away here.
That's
but
certainly the funniest one.
it's the best.
Maybe we did too good a job making these up.
Too
But
good.
the one about the economy, have you ever considered cloning yourself in efforts to improve the economy?
No.
No. I'm just wondering.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would be improved.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to open up our phone lines. So if anyone has a question for our two guests, we have two musicians, essentially. No, we have an economist and a budding young engineer and scientist. And feel free to call in with any questions. Our number is 617-876-0055. And while we're waiting for a caller, maybe you guys can tell me who your heroes are.
My heroes are Malala Yousafzai and Harriet Tubman.
You want to tell us who the first person is?
Malala Yousafzai stopped the Taliban in Pakistan, and Harriet Tubman stopped slavery. well, she helped stop slavery.
Wow. Incredible
Great.
choices.
Yeah, Malala won the
Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace
Maybe we
Prize.
can get her here too.
Next time she's in town.
Cool. And who are your
She
heroes?
lives in England now.
That's not so far. It's a quick. There's direct flights.
And so I guess in my case, one hero is my old teacher who was responsible for getting me into economics. I didn't know anything about economics and I took his course. His name is Kenneth Arrow. So he's a hero. Also, I think Einstein, whose house I lived in for a few years, is a hero. He shows everyone what the power of thought alone can do for the world. And he was just sitting there thinking, and look what he came up with.
Yeah, I really love Einstein. Celia just got me this book that's Einstein's Letters to Children, which is a collection of letters that children wrote him and he wrote them back, which is really, really beautiful, and I really like that. Of course, we love Einstein for many other reasons as well, but
Oh, and Grace Ling, because she's an author, and so far she's my favorite author.
awesome. Okay, unfortunately, we're out of
and
time.
I even wrote a letter to her, and she wrote back.
Oh, wow. Thank you.